Hi, thanks for getting this far. You probably come from LinkedIn, and then you hit my site, and now you're reading a blog, which is on the internet, which is very cool. This entire thing was done with AI. And for someone like me, that is very crazy to say because I have no development experience. I love the internet and I know internet things, but to someone like me, creating a blog that does all this great stuff is really unfathomable. And so we're living in a very cool world where we can just do things. And so what I wanted to do with this video is just take you through my process. And the goal really with this site is to feature more people and show how they built really incredible things. So you're reading this and you're watching this on a site that was completely built with Claude Code. And I just wanted to show you how it's done because ultimately, really anyone can go do this now. Um, so the process for me, and what I typically start with right now, is starting with something like Claude Design. Claude Design is a new-ish feature that's come out recently from Claude. I believe that you can get it for free. There's some free usage, but for the most part, now it is part of the $20 a month pro package. But Claude Design is very cool. Um, Really, you can just explain what you want to see, and you can use the little chat feature over here. I'm not going to regenerate this, but you explain what you want, and it will basically give you a starting uh, template of what you basically are asked for. Now, when I use Claude Design, I don't typically type in this box first. What I'll do is I'll go to another AI generator. So in this case, I used Gemini, and I'll basically explain the premise of what I'm trying to achieve. And so for this site, I was looking for something that was again minimalist, well designed, had a tone of irreverence, and what it came back was basically this theme. I think I started with the main website first. I didn't go into this concept. This prompt specifically was about getting a blog post. So when you look at the main website, that's basically what it generated first, and then I went back later and I asked it to come up with a blog post template. But once I sort of tweaked it and I went through some user questions that Claude asked, I came out with this site. And what you're able to do after Claude gives you one of these templates is you can go up to the top and you can click share, and it lets you export in many different ways. But what I did was I handed it off to Claude Code. So when you click hand off to Claude Code, you can copy that demand. And then the next thing that I typically do is I go into anti-gravity. And anti-gravity is an IDE that's created by Google. So some people could use VS Code. You can use anti-gravity like I have. Many different ways you can do this, but this is the one that I like the most. And basically, you use the Claude plugin. And again, I'm not going to type the whole thing out, but basically, I said start a project with this design, and then post that in. From there, Claude does its magic. It spins it up really nicely. But one thing I just want to highlight with this experience is that with this AI-driven development, I really like using the skills package called Superpowers, and I'll show you what that looks like. So Superpowers, again, if you're familiar with Git, or if you ever used, let me make sure, if you ever used GitHub, people have repositories of skills all over the place. So just doing some search uh, on X or just on the web, you can find some really great skill packages. And this is one that I found is really effective. You can look at some of the skills that they have for your disposal. So there's things like writing plans, test driven development, sub agent driven development. All these things do really exciting and cool things. And so when you go over to anti gravity and you're developing, if you've installed this properly, which could probably do a whole other video on that, just hitting slash and evoking one of these skills, you can summon it basically to the top and then use that skill while you are doing the development process. So basically from the initial design, bringing that into anti-gravity and then using a skill like writing plans, it allows Claude to start doing its magic and start really building and scaffolding the app. So the first thing I actually did before it became what you're seeing now, it started as just a basic HTML page. So right now it is a Next.js app, but before that it was a static HTML page. What's really cool is that really anyone can use this initial process. You go Claude Design, bring it into something like Claude Code, and you can push that directly into GitHub and host it on GitHub Pages. And from there, you have a static site. So it's nothing special, but it's HTML. You can create landing pages. You can just create personal pages, and it works really great. But what I realized after failing with the idea, thinking that this was something I wanted to do, I needed to change it into a Next.js app. So went back to Claude Code, used one of the skills, and basically planned a little bit further out using that writing plan skill to say, hey, this is where I want to take the project next, come up with some ideas on how I could bring this onto the internet. I might want to use a content management system. I might want to have some analytics. And from there, it really changed the shape of the project, but it scaffolded properly so that it would be a Next.js project. And so the next thing that was really cool through this development process, so you can see this is where the site looks right now. But as the project sort of unfolded and I wanted to add some new features, the main one that I really knew that I needed was sort of a CMS, like something that I could actually write the blog post with. And so again, through that planning process, Claude sort of recommended using this thing called KeyStatic. And again, in the process, it basically spun up KeyStatic, used the design that Claude Design had built, and started giving me essentially all the tools I needed to publish with this site. So you can see that in KeyStatic, it has a lot of different ways for you to have a visual representation of what you are publishing. This is publishing in .mdx files, but basically it took all the components that were in the design and allows me to create sections, edit the sections, use the specific tags that I had generated with the sections. And this basically creates posts, pushes it into the repo, and then I can just push the repo to GitHub, which then pushes this into Vercel, which is online. So yeah, another really important part of any of this development is GitHub. So all of this is hosted for free on GitHub, and then I use the Vercel free tier to basically host it on the internet. And then from there, purchasing a GoDaddy domain name lets you host this with a real domain name. And yeah, so the process was pretty standard. I would say this is quite an easy build. There wasn't really any gotcha moments here. I think just having a basic understanding of how the internet works, how basic web applications are built was pretty sufficient to build something like this. I think going forward, you really you learn a lot about the development process from first principles when you're doing some of this AI coding, because all the things that you sort of take for granted, I think start coming to the forefront, like how do you get analytics into this? How do you make this safe and secure? And so whenever I approach something like this and I don't know something, I will typically just go to the internet, go to an AI and say like, hey, in the future, like, is this going to be a secure platform? How do I secure this in the future? Again, going from that chat mode back to the code, and then saying like, hey, can you repackage this as a skill that I can reuse later, making sure all my future builds adhere to these standards that we just talked about, is something that I typically do. But if you look on X or if you look on GitHub, there are lots of other great resources that show you how to keep your code secure, how to keep it safe. There's a funny meme of people saying like, oh, this only works in localhost. So just even figuring out how to bring something that's locally on your computer out into the internet becomes its own process. But I think just doing this getting your hands dirty and starting somewhere is just a really exciting place to start for a lot of people. So if I were to do this again, if I were to tell someone how to start, I might just suggest figure out like a web page that you can build, something like a personal site. That's a typical first project for a lot of people just doing basic web development. That's a really great place to start. And just seeing if you can get something online is one of the best ways to just get started with this. And from that, and you can see sort of how the AI development process works, you can go and do even more incredible things. So I hope you enjoyed the blog. I hope you enjoy this video, and just keep posted on this website, and you'll see some new projects hopefully every week.